If you're a man in 2026, and I'm talking about a real man with XY chromosomes, so yeah, we're talking genetic. This video is for you. If you have ever dealt with lust or you are dealing with lust now, this is probably one of the most important videos you will ever watch, because if you let lust overtake your life, you will literally ruin it. So let's talk about the elephant in the room real quick. We live in a culture where it is very easy to lust over things. There's the lust of the flesh, there's the lust of the eyes, and there's a lust for life, right? We have social media and we have all these people who are half naked all the time, right? We have people walking around in a culture where sexuality is seen more as a pastime rather than a covenantal thing that is to be taken seriously with repercussions if it's done in the wrong way, which is also why God has laws around it and why we have to be very careful about who we attach ourselves to and when, which is only for the context of marriage. Myself, I've dealt with lust in my life plenty. It's one of the things that I struggled with the most. And, there's always temptations in life. Temptations don't go away. But there are things you can do to help not only mitigate the lust and the temptations that you're dealing with, but to also get rid of it so it doesn't appeal to you the same way in the first place. And that's what people are not getting at. They're not getting to the root. So what is lust? Lust is a superficial way to achieve intimacy without the spiritual and emotional components that are required when you actually have sexual relationship with somebody. So, lust is basically, hey, you look hot, I'm into you, I'm going to connect with you physically for that, and I'm going to leave everything else out of the equation. And what that does is, because that's a bonding experience on all levels of our being, you not only create that bond in the physical, but you have a bond underneath the surface, yet you're not in the covenant of marriage. And so what happens is you start to experience this inner storm where you're in and you're out and you're in and you're out, and you walk away, you're both wounded, everyone's messed up in the head, you got feelings, you're like, I shouldn't have had feelings for him. And then what happens is you go into your next relationships with wounds from your last one, as well as not being able to trust them. And what people don't look at is that sexuality underneath the surface, it's literally like Band-Aids, right? We've probably all seen this before, you may have seen this. But it's like a Band-Aid where if you put it on and you keep ripping it off over and over, what happens over time? You lose the stick. And so it's the same way. It can impede on our ability to bond, and it can impede on our ability to trust people. And so if you allow lust to rule your life, you're literally going to be driven everywhere by the flesh. Like, I'm telling you, I've experienced this too. It's like I'd see something pretty and I wanted to go to it, right? And it's like there was no self-control. It was just like a curiosity. And the thing we have to look at so that we don't just condemn ourselves is, hey, why am I doing this in the first place? Well, it's because underneath the surface, because that lust is superficial, there's a deeper intimacy that's not being met. And where people are missing this is that can only be met through a relationship with Jesus Christ, right? Like, you may follow God, but not think that's Jesus. I was the same way as you. But you know what? I was still left empty because there was no real relationship in knowing who God was. And when you don't know God's identity, you don't know your identity. If you're interacting with just a source of nothing that's infinite, you're going to be nothing. And you're going to feel like nothing. You're going to feel like you're lost at sea and you're still looking for answers, even though you say you follow God. And it's not until you build that relationship with Jesus that you actually can become grounded in yourself and have an identity and realize that He is the only one who can fulfill you from the inside out. Is all temptation going to go away after that? No, it's not. Temptation's always going to exist, but you're going to have a relationship there as you spend time reading the Bible and in prayer and just being in His presence and worship and falling in love with the aspects of Jesus. And it's like, listen, if this is new to you for the first time as a man, I know it can sound weird to hear. I used to think the same thing. But Jesus is just like a brother. And it's like when you really, really value your older brother, your perfect older brother, you want to listen to his advice. You trust your brother because not only is he a guide for you, but he understands you. He's walked in your shoes before and he cares about you. And you want to listen to your brother because you trust him. There's nothing like that bond of brotherhood, and that's who Jesus is to us. And so when you really see that and you fall in love with it, it makes you realize, hey, here's a cheap opportunity for some dopamine and to feel good over here, but it comes at the expense of my closeness with my brother, who also is putting my faith in me and sees the best in me. And so when you go this route, you will feel that separation, you'll feel that fogginess, and the more you feed that over and over, the quieter this relationship gets. The more you feed this relationship, the quieter this one gets. And so we have to make sure that we prioritize spending time in his presence and having that intimacy. Into me I see, right? Making yourself known to him and knowing him for who he is, so that you will not be taken into all these other relationships that will never actually satisfy that. So that's what lust is. What happens if you feed it? Well, if you feed it, from experience, you will feel more cloudy, more foggy. You will feel disconnected. You will literally lose connection to your guidance system and not know what is what. And there's going to be this underlying hum of anxiety and always feeling drawn by your desires, but no control. You know, you get into that loop, you're like, oh, I'm going to stop, but then you keep going. And what happens is you're feeling that guilt from the last time you did it, but you're also feeling the dopamine. So it's like, it feels good, but every time it feels good, it feels bad at the same time. And so you get stuck in this hamster wheel, right? And it's like, how do you get out of that? How do you get out of that urge that keeps pulling you and you just feel like a victim to? You literally feel like a slave to the urge. One, again, you have to spend time in the Bible and absorbing those thoughts, literally memorizing the verses and remembering God's promises. That feeds his spirit inside of you. What you need to do is you need to be in prayer, right? And prayer is not just always talking to God. It's like if we had a conversation and it was just me talking to you the whole time, it's not much of a conversation, right? Conversation requires you to listen too, so we also have to listen to God. And so what happens is when you feel that urge in your body, you're gonna be tempted to do something about it, but the best thing you can do is nothing. And instead, don't try and do anything to mitigate it. Bring it to God, like speak it to him. And then literally say verses back to God. Take it, give it to Jesus. Be like, Jesus, I give this to you. And there are some actions you can do. Of course, you can transmute the energy. So you can do air squats every time it comes up, so you at least get a workout. You can do some breath work. You could go for a walk. Just don't distract yourself. Allow yourself to feel what is calling you underneath the surface and take it to God. And what happens if you start doing that over time is you'll be able to take these urges that were dragging you one way and you'll start to gain control over them. You also want to set up some boundaries with yourself. So if you're going to places where you feel like you have zero control, block it. Like, don't go there. And you know, some people may think you're weird. Here's the thing, it's not going to fix you forever, but you need to learn how to get your spirit back. And if you're constantly being hit by external sources, it's going to be hard to build up your internal strength because it's like you're getting wounded over and over. You don't have any time to heal. So you need to separate from those things that are damaging you so you can heal and you can collect your strength again. Then, one, you'll have power if you ever encounter that situation again, but you'll also have regained your connection to God. So you'll be able to discern what it is you need to do in the first place without getting sucked into the experience. It talks about in the Bible, resist sexual temptation by fleeing from it. And this is hard. Like, I myself have hung out on that line, like hanging on the fence, right? You got the good side, the bad side, you know, and we think we can lean on the fence and that keeps us in connection with God. But here's the reality is Satan owns the fence too. So if you're playing on that line, then eventually you're going to get sucked into it. There's nobody who is strong enough to just hang out on that line. You have to just push away, like rebuke it. And again, it's hard because I get it. It can feel good when it gets your innate need for connection, of pleasure. Like those things can draw you in. And I don't want you to feel shame about it. It's just reality. Every single person goes through this. And anyone who says they haven't or condemns you for it is a liar. And it's like, okay, you've never even lived life then. That's just reality. Like, to be human is to experience suffering and temptation in some degree or another. And the closer you get to truth, the more suffering you will experience. But we have to remember that is a reward. That is a sign that God's favor is on you and He is guiding you, because the enemy, Satan, is not going to attack somebody who is not a threat. He's going to attack someone who is realizing who they are and their identity, and he wants to derail your identity, which is what allows those behaviors to happen in the first place. Because when you forget who you are, you forget who you come from, and that's when your focus moves to something else. The next thing you're going to want to do, which is hard, is you're going to want to feel emotions. Right? This is the hardest thing people do. They don't want to feel emotions. And for the most part, it's grief, right? There's a grief inside. A grief is basically an identity you're still holding on to that's no longer serving you. And until you grieve, you can't let go of an old identity. And so if you're still feeling a pain from the past, it's because you're holding on to who you were. It's not actually the thing itself it was associated with, it's you. And you're still holding on to that identity. But you have to be able to let go of that and grieve it out. Otherwise, you're always going to be shackled back. And again, that's why Jesus will raise us back to life. When we die to ourselves, when we put ourselves on our own cross and carry it, we're living in a new life. We give up the old life for a new one. And that's a daily thing. It's not a one-time thing. People think they get baptized, and it's like, I'm not a religious guy. I've gone through all these things. I want to make it as relatable as possible because, again, He is a man that you can relate with, not just a concept and not just a theology, but a being. And so I've gone through this process. Nothing, just because you get baptized doesn't mean reality is all of a sudden perfect. It's not like all of a sudden, hey, you're healed. It's like, no, you realize who you are, but it's a daily thing. Right? And when you realize who it is that's helping you, that grace that's propelling you and giving you the power to overcome, I want you to remember, we are more than conquerors through Christ Jesus, right? You're not a victim. And it's easy to get in that victim mindset. I get it. Like, I can't do it. I'm getting beat up. And, those may be true. You can't do it on your own. You may be getting beat up. You probably are. But here's the thing. One, stop beating yourself up. And two, realize you don't have to do it alone. If you do it through self-reliance, you're going to fall back into it. Because you're doing it by your own power, and it's a spiritual rooted issue. You have to go to the Spirit. I really recommend, and I can do another video on this, so let me know, talking about like warfare praying, getting to the root of that, cut it out. And so if you want me to do a video on warfare prayers, comment warfare. But that's what you need to do, is you need to stop relying on yourself, and you need to literally just like grieve and ask Jesus to help you grieve. Jesus, open my heart and crack me open like an egg so I can release what is not wanting to be released. And I know that I may have to get scrambled a little bit, but on the other side of that is some scrambled eggs. And those are good. It's better than just the egg. And so he's going to take everything that kind of hurts, that cracking, and he's going to turn it into something good. Just like oil, right? Olive oil. You have to crush the olive, but through that you get olive oil. It's good on the other side. There's always that crushing though. And the last thing you're going to want to do, I'm going to give you three main things. This is one of the most important that I've experienced myself. I've found that whenever there's been times in my life that I've been distracted and not on purpose and not doing what God is calling me to do and procrastinating and holding back on that, especially in a creative sense, that energy that would have gone into that creative thing is literally being blocked like a pipe inside of me, and probably in you too. And it has to go somewhere or it erupts. And that's what it does. It turns into lust. It turns into those impulses. That energy has to move, right? You're being guided by a spirit who's trying to make you do something. But when you resist, that energy from the push, it's got to do something. And so for me, I make music, right? I've written my book, which is coming out in a few months. Right? And so it's like, as I started making more music and allowing myself to do that when I was procrastinating on it most of my life and feeding these beliefs that I can't do it or I'm unworthy or whatever, and I just started putting in the time, I noticed that creative energy would start to increase there, and my desire for lust went down. So those are some tangible things you can do. Some final things I want to just say as a bonus. We talked about putting boundaries for yourself. If you're in a relationship or you plan to get in a relationship, right? If you're dealing with this, you need to set a boundary there too. That could be stop kissing. And it sounds extreme, but like if you have extreme lust, like stop doing that if it's triggering you. Stop doing all these things that may be creating that problem. Like especially stop making out and stop, having sex before marriage. Like just stop. Like again, that's against God's law, and that's going to lead you to pain. He's not doing it just to control you. He's doing it because he loves you and he knows it's going to lead to pain and literal warfare. You're creating agreements with the demonic world, which is real. All right. Again, I used to think this wasn't real, but you create an agreement with the demonic when you open up into those things and you start doing them. Right. So again, cut out that. Stop making out if you need to. Like continuously add boundaries and do what you need to do, not to like resist yourself from doing it, but because you want to love God, right? And it's like, if you do that and your partner both do that, you'll be good. If one of you only wants to do it and there's war, like that's going to be tough. It's going to get you sucked back in. And I've made that mistake too, right? In my relationships, like there would be resistance at the time and I insisted because I thought, hey, this is the only way that I can receive love. This is the only way I'll be loved. And it's like, it wasn't true, but that's what felt true for me at the time. And so I just did the wrong thing. And, over time, as I've learned to love God and appreciate that more in the presence and the clarity that comes through that and the integrity more than anything, right? Because our integrity, when we uphold that, we will remain in a relationship with God, and that's how he can really protect us. It's like you think of a building, if there's a giant hole on one side of the building, there's not integrity in that building. It could fall, like it's in danger. And so you want to maintain your integrity. And over time, as you experience enough pain, like hopefully you weren't masochistic like me, where it took a lot of pain to learn something, but you stop appreciating the pain and going after things that are going to hurt you. And instead you appreciate the feeling of peace, you start to value peace. And it just makes it easier for you to love God and the peace that comes with that through Jesus, rather than loving the short-term things. Again, temptations will happen, but it's the choice you make that matters at the end of the day. If you mess up, get back up, right? You fall down 6 times, you get up 7. It's part of life. It's in the Bible. Rocky talked about it too. So, there's truth in it. And remember, at the end of the day, you are a human. This is part of the human experience, is learning these things and going through it. So I hope this helped you. Hope gives you some clarity on any struggles you've been dealing with, or at least arms you for the future. And if you have any questions, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram too. Happy to answer there, or put them in the comments below. Check out my page for more videos to help you develop your spiritual fortitude and power and connect to Jesus and realize who you actually are. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.